What is good, card game players? I don't know. I don't have an intro yet, but welcome to my deck profile for Mono Green Uta, who is now my favorite deck to play. I don't actually own this deck profile in print, but on the simulator, this is what I've been running, and I really like this deck profile. I'm going to go ahead and go through it and give my thoughts on it, and there's a few things here you can see that are automatically not similar to what you're used to. No 10-drop Dofis, but I do have reasons. I could experiment around with maybe using those a little bit more, but this is what I like. So obviously, here's Uta. What's so good about Uta? Dawn ×1, when attacking, once per turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a film card, add it to your hand, and then return the remaining to the bottom of your deck. Again, wording in this game is a little weird sometimes. Basically what this means, when you attack with one Dawn, if the top card of your deck is a film card, you reveal it, put it in your hand. If it's not, you reveal it, and you bottom deck it. So that's a pretty great card effect right there. You can build up your deck hand early on, and even though a lot of these cards are 1k counters, if you have a big enough hand, it doesn't really matter. So let's go through this one by one. Here's your obligatory character that is nothing but a 2k. And the reason we were in EZO is because there's actually only one 2k film card right now, and that's Chopper. Chopper's on-play effect is pretty useless. Dawn ×1 when attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, cost 2 or less. Not very great. I guess it could have a situational use, but I've literally never even used it in my life. It's just a 2k, and we use EZO for the same reason. The reason people use EZO is because on-play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, cost 4 or less. That's slightly more useful than Chopper's effect, but we only use that because we need a 2k. If you don't own these, use any green 2k. The thing that really sucks about this deck, though, is that the fact that this is the only green 2k film card. We have to use non-film cards for other 2ks. Now, this will get eliminated in EBO1. We'll get a Sanji film that is 2k, and you replace every single one of these with those, 4 of those. That'll be great. But for now, we have to do this. And it feels really bad when you're attacking with the leader effect and you get one of these cards or any of these non-film cards. That's the one thing that really feels bad about Uta. But when you get the synergy and the luck going, it feels really good. Really good. Next we have, I'm going to save him for last, actually, because he's the bread and butter. We have a 3-drop Usopp, and the only reason we have a 3-drop Usopp is because it's pretty decent to have 5k on the 3-drop. You pretty much never play this card, though, just with 3 Dawn, basically, outright. You do it off of other cards, like this Brook card that plays any cost 3 or less from your hand on play. This is one of the best cards in the deck, and we'll get to why, but this card is pretty much only to be played off of this card, this Brook card, if you don't have any Utas or Namis in your hand. If you don't have any of those, you can play this, just because it's a 5k body on the board. Already went over Chopper. Here we got Nami. Is the exact same thing as Usopp, but on play and when attacking, you can tap one Dawn to basically search the top 3 cards of your deck for a film card and then bottom deck the rest of them. So this is the most aggroed card in your entire deck. As soon, you may as well get rid of the when attacking option. It's just an on play option, because as soon as people see this green Nami, man, it is like bright lights shining. They're going right for her. They're going to take her out as soon as they can, and she will die. Pretty much guaranteed the turn she's out. If not, you're lucky. You can keep using this effect. It's so good, especially to cost 3, and you can just keep playing it over and over and over with just having one Dawn to search. Constant searchers along with this is just pretty much 2 searches a turn for 2 Dawn. That's crazy. So again, you can play that off of this, and what makes this Brook really strong with the on-play to is 4 Dawn, and you get to play 2 cards for 4 cost and 3 cost. But what makes it really strong is this 7k 7-drop Luffy blocker. When you play this, you get to play a card with cost 4 or less. So in a really, really ideal world, you play this Luffy, which is a 7-drop 7k blocker, which is already really good. And then you play it into a Brook, and then you can play it into a Nami or an Uta, and then an Usopp. My priority order is pretty much Nami or Uta. If I'm in a pretty comfortable situation with a lot of life and not a ton of aggro coming my way, I'll always go for Nami. If I need to be a little more defensive, I'll go for Uta. Other than that, if I don't have any of those options available, I will always go for Usopp. Right here, we have 4 of these Zoros, which I don't love running 4 Zoros, but I opted out of getting rid of one of my 2 Doflamingos to put a 4th Zoro in and a 4th Usopp in. And the reason I did that is because with 2 Doflamingos, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards in my 15 card deck that were not film cards. I was doing leader effects and Nami effects and bottom decking Doflamingos, kids, Mihawks, everything like crazy. So I had to trim the fat on some of those non-film cards. And I felt personally like it was good to do that with Doflamingo. I think Doflamingo is probably one of the best green cards in the meta, but I don't particularly like 10-drop cards. I think they just feel bad in most situations. That one's really good, but for this deck profile, the synergies really comes from playing off of film cards. Doflamingo, in my opinion, works a little bit better in decks that don't rely so much on specific types of cards like this deck does. It can definitely do some really goofy stuff with this deck, but I opted to go for mostly film to get rid of that chance of RNG screwing me over. So that's why I opted for just a basic 6k attacker. Now, why would you want to go for a 4-drop 6k attacker like this? He's a really good 1k counter when you need it. I never hardly ever, unless I have to, play him with 4-drop. This is where the new starter deck 12 Mihawks come into play. This is honestly one of my favorite cards to play with in this deck, because on play, you can play a cost 4 or less / type character from your hand rested. So, on default, I like to fish for one of these first turn. I like to fish for one of these or one of these. It's just, we'll get into her in a minute. I'm skipping around, but right here, basically on turn, you can play this. The backup option is to play this into a rested Zoro to get him out for free. Now, he will be targeted that next turn, but you still get him out for free, basically. What I love to do is get him out, then pull out the Brook, then pull out the Nami or the Uta or the Usopp. So then what it turns into, for 3 Dawn, you're playing Mihawk, a rested Brook, and then an active Nami or an active Uta or an active Usopp. That is a very big turn. So what I like to do is I like to opt to go first a lot of the time, which is weird for Uta. Uta likes to go second, but my strategy is to go first, look for these cards, look for a Mihawk and a Brook. That's my favorite first hand, into one of these 3-drops. And then I will actually not do that on the turn I have 3 Dawn. I will opt to attach all 3 Dawn to Uta to attack, to build my hand up, to get more stuff in my hand. And then I can look for this option. And then on that next turn, I will drop this into this, so that I can use the leader effect on this card, or use the on-play effect on this card to draw a card, and then use the leader effect to draw another card. It's just a super fun turn. It sets up a really strong early game, and I think it feels really nice. Other than that, late game, I would honestly think that wouldn't be too worth it if he didn't have a 2k counter, because late game, that only works if you have 2 or less things on the field, by the way. In late game, he just becomes a 2k counter. Really good. You get that from starter deck 12. Which, fun fact, almost this card, this card, this card, this card, this card, this card, and these cards all come from the Uta starter deck. So if you buy 2 Uta starter decks, you're almost complete. And that gets us in right here. This is a pretty good card. Just your basic blocker. One of 2 blockers, well, kind of one of 3 blockers you have in this deck. But at the end of your turn, you can have some really good synergy to trash a film card, event card, or just any event card from your hand, and set up to one of your characters as active. So you can be swinging with your 7k blocker and then trash an event card to set him as active, so you can use him as a blocker the next turn. Other than that, she's just a blocker. Pretty good for that too, and a 1k. We get into the events. I run 2 Blacklights because Blacklight is very situational when it's useful. Mostly, you can pick one or 2 options: rest a character with 5 below cost, or KO a character that's rested with 5 below cost. I'll do that if someone's being really aggro with like a Rush Zoro or something to KO it, or if they have blockers out and I want to go for a win, I'll play this and just do that and rest them so they can't block. New Genesis, this is a really interesting card because the wording is cool. You tap a Dawn, you search for the top 3 cards of your deck, you pull out a film, you bottom deck the rest, and then you untap the Dawn. So it's basically for free, you get to search for a film card. But the reason it costs 1 Dawn is because if you have no Dawn available in your Dawn field, you can't actually do this. You have to have a Dawn to tap and then untap. So that's the tricky part about it. But basically for free, if you see this, just do it first, instantly, so that you don't run the risk of holding it in your hand. You want to burn these when you have them. It's just a free search. It's literally nothing else. It's very, very strong. And then this is the bread and butter of the whole deck. I love this card. Set Uta up as active, your leader. It's so incredibly strong. Attach 2 Dawn to Uta, go for a win, attack, have them block out of it, reactivate her, attack again, reactivate her, attack again. I run 4 of these because this is the game closer. This is how you don't aim for just giant swings with this deck to swing through and kill. You aim for a lot of little pokes to kill through. And this is what you do. 7k swings over and over with this does the magic. Now, the MVP of the deck I've saved for last is Kid. 8-drop Kid is absurd. I would almost run this in any green deck I ever make. I love this card so much. Basically, I'm going to skip the good part, but activate main once per turn. You may rest this character and play 1 character cost 3 or less from your hand. So, you can do that to play a blocker because you're really playing this card as defense. But the cool thing is if you have 1 Dawn attached to him on your opponent's turn, if the character's rested, he has to be the target. If this character is rested, your opponent cannot attack anything other than characters named Eustace Kid. Which is pretty cool because if you're running other cards with the name Eustace Kid, that's multiple targets they have to target before they can hit you. So it's basically a 8k blocker. Pretty good. An 8k blocker that plays another 1k, 3k or less. Which, if you already have a Luffy out and you're thinking, oh, this is getting, I don't have a lot of counters, play this. Rest them so you can get the effect because you can't rest them on the... that allows you to rest him on the turn you pull him out. Play another blocker off of this, then just throw 1 Dawn on him, and he's the target for the next round. Counter out of that, let him die, block with this, play another one next turn. What you do with this deck is you go for those small chips with your 5Ks to exhaust their counters, and you set up giant wall defenses like this at late game. That's how this deck works. That's at least how I play this deck. I know a lot of people play it differently, and I'm personally really looking forward to EBO1 when we can get rid of these. These feel bad. It feels so bad to bottom deck these with the leader effect and with the Nami effect and New Genesis, honestly. But it just feels bad to see your 2Ks go to the bottom, and you can't draw these unless it's from life or just a natural draw. I really hate this card in this deck, but we need the 2Ks, so it's just how it is. Because with this, we have these as 2Ks, these as 2Ks, and these as 2Ks. But these are 2Ks that are playable too, so you can't really... These are just 2Ks purely meant to be used. But everything else is what it is, right? Like, everything else is great. So basically with synergy in this deck, you're constantly poking with Dawn attached to draw more cards. You're playing cards off of cards, so like this plays into this, plays into this, this, or this. This can play into this for a 6k swing, or this can play into this, which can play into this, this, or this. This can play into this, this, or this. This searches for all that. You see what I mean? It's just, I grin thinking about it, because there's just, this is a very combo heavy deck. You combo into things constantly, and that's why it's so fun. Weaknesses of this deck, though, is that if you're going up against black, which is going to, or black or blue, which is going to bottom deck and trash things like crazy, and you can't keep a board no matter what, that feels really bad. It feels really bad to throw out a blocker and just have it get triggered by yellow and just annihilated, or get bottom decked, or trashed instantly. That feels really, 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 really bad. Take it from me, I've been playing games all night. I'm 2.5 hours in the stream. I've been playing nothing but mono green Uta all night, and it feels bad. But when it works, it feels great. And it's not one of those things. There's a lot of luck in this deck, but there's also a lot of strategy. There's a lot of combos to do. A lot of the games I've lost tonight have been completely up to misplays. There have been some times when I got like, I was going for a win, and they had 2 life left, and the first trigger was a beige, which made Uta unable to attack, and the next trigger was an Onami, which trashed one of my characters, so I just conceded. I was like, that is such crap. But this is a really fun deck. I think it's about an A tier deck. I don't think it's like at the top, but it's definitely, to me, the most fun deck in the game right now. I love this deck a lot. So I'm going to show a game showcase of it, but let me know what you think below. But now let's get to the game, shall we? We want to see the game. We want to see this in action. All right, we got another Enel. We've had a lot of Enels tonight. I like having a 2K on the first turn and some I'm Invincibles just on deck. I guess we'll keep. I don't feel super good about keeping, but I also don't want to run the risk of really screwing myself over with something way worse. Next turn, though, we do have to throw out a swing. They're going to probably take it no matter how much I swing. So let's just drop... Well, let's drop 8. Screw it. They're going to take the damage either way. It's an L. He wants to take damage. Okay, we got a bottom-decked kid on our first leader effect. Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. That's what you want. Not actually, but it's fine. Whatever. So, probably a Shura, I would imagine. Yeah. Probably going to be warming up to the Okiku soon. Get a 2 million volts. 200 million. Going right for it. Fine with me. All right. All right, so it still kind of sucks that we don't have anything to play off the Mihawk. Let's go ahead and throw out a 7K swing. And we will peek for anything. We don't get anything. We're just going to have to drop a blocker. 3K flat. And call it a day. Next turn's the last turn we have to make any Mihawk plays happen. Or drop Zoro or Brook would be fine. It's also really fun to play around with the idea. And here comes a Holy. Ooh. It's really fun to play around the idea of having Law in your hand and then bouncing him back, playing a Mihawk, and then doing it off that. That's a really good first turn to have. Oh, he didn't get any Holies, but he already had a Holy. He's fine. Which means he bottom decked a lot of good stuff just now, probably. We're going to eat this. We need to start taking some damage and getting some health. But right now, we still don't have a freaking swordsman, really? I would like to get a Brook or something. Bottom deck and Izo, that's fine, whatever. So now Mihawk is just a, he's literally just gonna be, we're actually gonna counter out of that. Enjoy. Deploy, use card action, give me New Genesis. I love New Genesis. We got a lot of 2Ks on deck. That feels good. That feels really good. Use New Genesis. We saved a Dawn for that. Bottom deck there is fine, but we're gonna get Luffy and call turn. So next turn we can, but we still haven't found any Brooks. We must have Brooks hiding in life or something. We're going to have to start using some 2Ks. How much Dawn is he at? We have to be weary of 8-drop Katakuri now. He is very likely to come. But we get Gedatsu'd, which is fine because he still doesn't really have any blockers out. We're going to eat that, actually. Another 2K. So we're just stacking the 2Ks right now. We got a lot of 2Ks. We're going to counter out with Izo and Usopp. $5K. Counter out with Mihawk. That feels good. Now we can start going for some faces. Just show me. Oh my goodness. Bottom deck Izo again. So what we're going to do now, we have 8 left. We're going to 6K here to Holy. Use card action. Draw Brook. There you are. And then we're going to drop... I'm going to drop one of these. And drop an I am invincible and throw 6 more K. Bait out a counter. We'll probably take this one, actually. So next turn, actually, instead of using Luffy, we might just use Kid next turn. Especially if nobody dies. If nobody dies, then we'll definitely use Kid. And we will set up a wall. And then the next turn, we have safe room to start playing Luffy's every turn if we need to. We need to. Right now, we need to focus on keeping things alive. They're really going to want to go for Nami right now. They really want to go for Nami. I bet. But first, they have to think. You got to let them think. They thinksies. And we just get rid of. That's fine. Reject. I don't think people should be playing Reject, especially if it's going to get banned soon. We're going to eat that. Take the new Genesis. I think Reject is lame. It's such a lame card. Blocker. Go ahead and 2K that. That's at 3, 4, 5, just 5K. We're gonna 2K that. I want to keep her alive really badly. Okay, we're at 10 Dawn. So we could Kid, but we don't have anything with 3 costs or less to play with it. That's a film. I guess it's just any 3 costs or less. It's kind of cool. But let's do this instead. See if we can't get an Uta. Usopp would be better. Let's do Usopp. So let's go ahead and drop a Kid. Let's use the effect. Play out an Usopp. Equip a Dawn to him. And let's do a 6K swing at there. Draw the card. We're countering out of it. Go ahead and end turn. So next turn, we have him right where we want him. We can do big swings next turn to take this down. But it depends on how this turn goes. It depends on how this turn goes. But we also have defensive lines. We only have 1 2K left. But let's see. Let's go ahead and... Got a 1K right here. We're out of counters, though. We have 3 Luffys in our hand, which feels bad. Feels real bad. We're going to have to start using New Genesis to grab some... counters. But the good thing here is that he has to do 8K damage to get through Kid. The heck is this song? It's so weird. But we gotta let him think, see. Thinky. Yamato, I figured that would happen. So he gets a heal off that, which feels bad, really bad. But we have 2 I'm Invincibles. So one thing we could do, let's go ahead and drop one of these. Peak for a 2K, that's huge. So the question here is, we need to throw 1 here. And just 9K swing, take off a life. And he's rested with 1 Dawn, which means that he will be forced to be targeted next turn. We're actually going to counter out of it. That makes me feel more comfortable about going for a win. So it's 5K check. We have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 I'm Invincibles on board. Okay. Let's see. That would do damage. Then she would do damage. And then that would replace. And then she would do damage again. We need to go for a Luffy. Luffy into a Brook. Into nothing. That's what needs to happen. Attack. And In turn. Unless he's about to... I thought he was about to counter, and I was about to... Or trigger. I was about to get so mad. So we have 2 2Ks. I feel pretty safe. He's going to have to attack Kid again. Which, if he attacks with Yamato, I can just 2K Kid. Which is exactly what he's doing. I'm going to 2K Kid. Which is fine. And then he's probably going to... He has Tendon left. He's going to Yamato again to heal. Interesting. He has such a small hand now, though. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw on 9 here, do the attack, so that you have to target him again next turn. Then we're going to do a bunch of checks. He's definitely not going to be able to do that. We're going to do a 5K check. He's just playing with triggers now. 5K check. And then we have 2 I'm Invincibles. I think this is GG. I don't see any world this is not GG. Good. That means he's out of counters if he's using a 2K. Do not use card action. Okay. He's going to replace. This is GG. This is so GG it hurts. But I'm still going to play it safe. Because I never know. You never know. He's going to counter. Yep. We'll do a 7K swing with Luffy. This right here is going to take a life. Going to do that with 9K. He thinks he's safe. We're going to attack 7K here. Attack. Draw a card. He's not taking into account I'm invincible. He's going to take the life, and then we're going to drop I'm invincible. I'll go ahead and search, buddy. It doesn't do any good. Okay, fine. Boom, 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 boom. GG's. Awesome. So that is Mono Green Uta. Very fun deck. Very powerful in the right hands. And this card right here is pretty much the bread and butter. Once he's out, he's such a force to get past. An 8K forced blocker. It's so hard to get by. You cannot bypass that. Unless you bottom deck him or kill him. But huge deck. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. What would you do differently in the deck? All this stuff. And stay tuned for more One Piece content. Thank ya.